everybody. Hi, dear Horn Hangout audience. We're so happy you've joined us today. We are in Brisbane at the Queensland Conservatory, Griffith University, and our star guest today is Mr. Philip Cobb. Thank you, Phil, for agreeing to do this. You didn't have much choice. We just shunted you in here.
Yeah, that's nice to be here.
It's nice to be in Australia, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah. Yeah, a long way to come, but it's definitely worth it indeed.
But your jet lag is okay.
It's not bad, yeah, because I came from Korea just before. So
that's only an hour time difference, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, only that's actually quite a luxury to arrive. I came in from Japan, so it's quite a luxury to arrive in Australia and not feel like a total and utter deathbed for.
Still felt like that.
Yeah, all right. I wonder if there's anybody watching who you taught. You were doing master classes in Korea.
Yeah, there may well be. Yeah. I know there were a few people that knew it was happening. So
everybody knows this is happening. This is Horn Hangouts. You thought it was this sort of little undertaking.
I was going to get away with it.
No. Not getting away with anything here. We have a huge audience. We are here for the High Brass Weekend, which has been organised here at the Con. Peter Love, Sarah Butler, thank you very much for the invitation to this. You guys have... We have been masterclassing, warming upping, playing difficult pieces in front of lots of brass players. That's our favourite thing to do. And all of you watching, I think we're live on Facebook as well. So if you're watching live on Facebook, write in, let us know where you're watching from. But do go over to the website if you have any questions for Phil, because I've only got the website up here on my iPad, and it would be great if you got in some good questions from him. Make the most of it. He hardly ever does interviews, so today we can ask him whatever we want. Well, more or less. Whether you answer it or not is up to you. So we've already got people watching from all over the world. Michelle Baker is watching in New York, which is really lovely. Hello, Michelle. We love you. There's Brendan is watching from England, which means it's 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay.
My goodness. And yeah, there's so many people. A lot of you in the room joining in here with I Am a Falafel and people like that. So you've chosen some good names. Thank you for that. Someone tried to be Stefan Dorr, but I'm not believing that because he'll be asleep. He'll be way asleep by now. So when I have a Horn Hangout guest, I try and ask them questions that you can't Google. The problem is, Phil, you can't Google you virtually at all.
Results.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff out there of you playing. There's just not a lot about your history, and I know you. I've talked to your other colleagues. So what did you think we were doing on the tour in May? I was trying to get all the info.
I agreed to it by then.
Actually, I don't think you ever agreed to it. I just. But what would be really interesting, because you come from a huge brass band tradition, and that has shaped your playing, shaped your path. I heard that your first trumpet you got when you were 3.5?
That's right, yeah. It's sad, really, isn't it?
Sweet.
No, I did have a football as well, but yeah, I got a cornet, an old battered, what they call a Salvation Army bandmaster's cornet. I was at Christmas time, and I was 3.5. So, and that was given to me by my grandfather, who was a player.
He was a very famous player.
He was, yeah. I suppose back in the day, you know, the army bands back in the day were there were a lot more of them, and it was a real thing, a real tradition.
As you say, army, you mean Salvation Army. Yeah, Salvation Army, not the British Army.
No, the Salvation Army, yeah. And I suppose in their own unique world, they were sort of rock stars, really. My grandfather was a good-looking man. Always had his hair slicked back, and used to play with a pinky. So he was people
play with a pinky.
A little finger up like that.
Oh, it's like drinking tea. Usually that's how you drink tea.
But he played amazing, but looked fantastic when he played as well. I of course never saw him play. No. But people still.
You would have been so proud.
Oh, yeah. No, he's still around.
He's still around.
Yeah, up until a couple of years ago, he was still playing.
Wow.
But certainly, yeah, I wish I could have heard him play live. That's for sure. People still come up and tell me that after I've played something that nobody can bring silence to a room like my grandfather. So that's always a nice thing to be told
after you played, yeah, right. But okay, so he is still alive. Great.
Yeah.
Hello, I hope he's watching. Well, probably not at this time.
Probably not at the moment, no, but he'll see it. Don't
But
worry.
he never played for you live.
No, well, I used to play duets with him. You know, he used to babysit me and my brother and my two cousins as well quite a bit. We're all a very close family, so we used to play duets occasionally, and I used to hear him playing and practicing. And there's lots of recordings out there of him playing as well. So yeah, I've heard enough to know he was okay.
And your dad became quite a famous conductor in the brass band.
Yeah, he was also a player as well. So my grandfather was principal cornet of the International Staff Band of the Salvation Army, which is basically the premier brass band of the Salvation Army, really. It's a bit like representing your country. Well, that's at least how I always saw it. So my grandfather was principal cornet of them for a while, and then my dad later took over that chair, and within a few years took over the baton. So, and he's been doing that over 30 years now. He's been associated with the band 40 odd, I think. So he's now, and he still conducts the local band that I play in now as well.
You still play in a local band?
I do, yeah.
What are they called?
They're called Hendon.
Hendon Band.
Salvation Army Band, yeah.
Because you sort of imagine the brass band tradition to be more North England.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did a bit of that, but not on a regular. I was always the Salvation Army thing. I did the National Youth Brass Band as well, which of course was full of Northerners that had done that sort of thing. So I got to know, and I did a few contests. I did the Welsh areas with Corey, did the Europeans with Corey. I've done concerts with Black Dyke, Grindthorpe, the Yorkshire areas with Carlton Main.
All on the cornet.
All on the cornet.
Sorry, I'm a horn player. I'm trying to sort of understand this. It's really a different tradition, isn't it, of playing?
It is, yeah. Yes and no. I mean, I've tried to not think about it too much because it's still blowing down a bit of brass tuning, you know.
Which is why we're all here this weekend.
Exactly.
That's what
we
do.
But there are small differences, yeah. And I think.
And they are.
Well, maybe I'm not the best person to ask because I get told that I sound like a trumpet on the cornet and a cornet when I play the trumpet. So I can't win really. But no, I think the articulation's different. I think in the orchestra you've got to be able to promote a little bit more. You've got less notes to play, of course.
Yes,
so
of
it's
course.
a different mentality.
You know what? I've just started teaching at the Birmingham Conservatoire, and that is where the brass band tradition sort of starts in Birmingham and then goes north.
Yeah.
And so they have a brass band course there.
Really
and yes, that's right. And so I was doing a masterclass. It's a chair of brass, so I don't just get the horns, I got all brass. And in the morning I had the orchestral brass, in the afternoon I had the brass band brass. And I think they played more notes in the second half of the masterclass than all the orchestral horns and trumpets have played in like the last 10 years. It's unbelievable what they play. The euphoniums and the tenor horns.
It's an easy instrument though.
Ah, okay. But you know what? The other thing I noticed, hold it out the window. It's okay, we're at trumpets and trombone horns here this weekend. The other thing I noticed is that they all play with this vibrato that actually I was quite jealous of because I do everything I can to stop this vibrato when I'm nervous. But in a brass band, you're supposed to use this vibrato. It's a sort of, they were doing it with their chin. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to try and think about it in a slightly different way. You know, I think using vibrato is about warming the note up and colour rather than just a habit. But there has been, obviously not the fantastic players in the brass band, but there is a bit of a tradition that you use vibrato for the sake of using vibrato. It sounds lovely, but I think for me there's got to be a point to it. So I'm not against using vibrato in anything, give or take one or two bits of repertoire, as long as there's a point to it.
Would you use vibrato in Mahler 5?
I would in all the slow solos in the third movement. I would certainly, yeah. I think that's a great opportunity to use vibrato. If you want to.
How can they tell if it's meant vibrato or because you're nervous vibrato?
I don't know. I guess the trick is to be able to not show the nerve side of it, to show that what you're trying to do is just colour it rather than shake.
I like that. It's cool. You use it to warm up the note and colour the note.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important thing. I was very impressed with the brass band players. It's just for me a new world, but it's such a huge tradition.
It is, and one we should be and continue to be very proud of in the UK, because it's and the Salvation Army side of it, it's produced some of the most fantastic brass players orchestrally as well as in the band, and even 3 or 4 guys, slightly older guys in the LSO that, Tim Jones learnt to play the euphonium through the Salvation Army. Patrick Howard, who retired, learnt to play, was just given a fingering chart, given an instrument and told to learn, and that has shaped those guys' career and life really. So it's something that I'm very proud of for sure.
Yeah. Australia has a very big brass band, Australia and New Zealand, and we're lucky because we have the live streamer, the ultimate live streamer of the brass band world, Handsome Tim, over there. And Tim live streams all these events because Australia is so huge, it's very hard for families to get to hear concerts. So they all tune into this. It's a party. It's a brass band party. But today we're having a Horn Hangout party. Okay. People are still watching from all over the place. It's Dan, the trumpet man, says, "Hey, Phil." Oh my goodness. Alex, the local, says, "Phil, do you play anything besides trumpet professionally?" The fool. No.
No, that's just enough.
That's enough. Trumpet and cornet.
Trumpet and cornet,
right? Yeah. There's some good questions here. I have to scroll through them because there's so many of them. What style of music did your band play?
All sorts. I mean, my father's actually in charge of music for the Salvation Army in the UK.
Yeah.
And part of his job is to promote new music from new composers, and so there's loads of different genres, and that's the brilliant thing I think about the whole brass, the brass community really, that it can stretch out over so many different genres. Yeah. I think that's fantastic.
How long do you warm up for?
Depends. It depends on how much blowing I've done the day before. I tend to put it to my face and see how I feel. And sometimes I need to do 5-10 minutes. Sometimes I'm ready to go. So it depends really.
I agree.
No more than, if I was to warm up, it'd be no more than 10-15 minutes.
Yeah. Sure. And then Flynn wants to know how much do you practice daily? That's always a difficult one to answer, isn't it?
It is, because I'm working all the time.
Yeah.
So it depends. Again, it depends on what I've got on work-wise. If we've had a particularly tough day at work, then it's actually better to put it in the case and leave it there and rest. So it all depends. We don't really have the brilliance and the frustration of the LSO schedule is that there is no routine to it. So you can't really plan how you're going to feel at any given point during the week or month. So again, I just try and I have done since the word go in that job, really, just try and work it out as you go. I think you're always trying to.
That's really important, and not to sort of have this warm-up routine that you have to do this 1 hour brutal routine every day, otherwise you can't play. But if you've got a Mahler symphony on, that would wreck you more than it would help.
And you can't stick to that every single day. If you've got to be at the studio in the morning, I mean the traffic situation in London is shocking. Yeah. So you can't, even if you left an hour and a half to get to work, there'd be some days where you might be pushed for time. Yeah. You're not necessarily going to get there in order to be able to do your half an hour, 40-minute warm-up. So I think mentally, trying to cram it, I would never say don't warm up, but I would say try and get it as compact as possible.
So you joined the London Symphony Orchestra when you were 21. I mean, that's really quite amazing. Yeah. You went straight from Guildhall, Guildhall School of Music and Drama. Who were your teachers there?
I was predominantly taught by Paul Beniston, who's principal trumpet at the London Philharmonic Orchestra. Paul Kosh was a teacher there as well. Anne McInerney, who was in the LPO. I had a handful of lessons with Alison Bolson. That's about it really. And then right up until college, I was taught by my father. So that's pretty much it. And I was so lucky through college, particularly with my dad. I mean, I've got a fantastic relationship with my dad. And then to go to Guildhall and have a very special relationship with Paul Beniston as well. I was very lucky with that. So, and I still keep in contact with, well, obviously my dad, but I still keep in contact with both of them quite a lot.
So how does it work in England? Well, I sort of know how it works, but it's good to explain to people that are not used to this the British style of getting a job. In my orchestra, you do an audition, then you get a 2-year trial if you win the audition. Yeah, right, okay. It's brutal. But your system is brutal too, because you do either an audition or not. And then there's a lot of people on trial at the same time. So how did it work with yours? Because actually it was a very quick decision, wasn't it?
So I'm told, yeah. Well, I was on trial for another position in the London Philharmonic Orchestra, which was a job that I won with about 4 or 5 months left of my degree. And it was strange how it all happened, because in one morning I was offered a trial in a European orchestra. I was offered an official trial for first trumpet with the LSO and was kind of offered the LPO job, and all at the same time.
All age 21.
Yeah, it was a bit of a... And I had to make a decision. I was just asked, having accepted the LPO job, because I didn't think for 1 minute I was going to get the LSO job.
That was a big job, because the man who had retired out of that job was a little known trumpet player called Maurice Murphy, who was just God, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah, to me, yeah.
Yeah, well, to me too. He's an incredible trumpet player.
So I was offered what was going to be 3 or 4 months of work, I guess, to see at 2021 whether I could handle it. You know, it's one thing going in and having a good concert, but whether you can do the shows back to back and handle the brutal schedule and the touring and all that kind of thing. But I think the fact that, fortunately for me, the fact that I'd won a job somewhere else kind of rushed it through. So, and they had nowhere else to go.
They were afraid that they were going to lose you.
Yeah.
So how many years have you been there?
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10. A lot has happened in those 10 years.
Yeah, it certainly
really
has.
A lot. I mean, also tragic things as well.
Yeah.
You lost 2 members. Well, Morris.
3.
Morris died.
3 in the first 5 years.
I can't imagine how horrible that is. And Nigel Gone was also your mentor.
Yeah, Nigel. I had a very special relationship with Nigel. God.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No. I had a very special relationship with Nigel, and I have done. You know, I did with Danny Newell, Rod who took over from him. Danny Newell who took over from him, and of course Niall that's there now. But Nigel was the sort of first. Nigel and Jerry were very special in this. That I look back on it now.
Jerry's still in the section.
No, Jerry's just retired.
He's just
retired.
That was his last tour then, in South America.
No, he was in as an extra, but he retired last summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were very special because I was very young. I had no idea what I was doing. And I had 2 guys there. Nigel was best friends with Maurice. Jerry idolised him, and they were very close. And yet those 2 guys let me go into the LSO and just play. You know, they just supported, they helped me when they could, and they let me play. And it's only now really that I look back on that and realise how special that was, because you hear all sorts of other stories about other sections with very sharp elbows and not very supportive. And it's a hard enough job. But I think particularly with how close those guys were to Rod, to Nigel and to Maurice, to have let me just sit down and do my thing and be supportive of that, I'll be forever grateful, actually.
There's a wonderful video of you and Nigel for the YouTube Symphony Orchestra, and it's hilarious. You guys have got to look it up on YouTube. It's a trumpet excerpt video. And basically, Nigel and Phil are there. Nigel's just says, right, Phil, you play that. All right, and then you talk about it. He's making you play all these excerpts. He didn't play a note himself, but he's commenting on it brilliantly.
He's a fabulous musician.
Yeah.
I mean, there were various sessions and studio work that we used to do where, if it wasn't brilliantly written, Nigel would just rearrange. He'd say, you play that, you play that, you play that, and it always sounded right. He had a fantastic ear, and he was a brilliant third trumpet player. He was a great piccolo trumpet player in Philip Jones' brass ensemble. So he was a great player in his own right, but he did lots of examining and recording for the Associated Board, studio work for them, and he was a very, very clever man, very talented. So. And a beauty as well. Yeah.
We miss him a lot. He said something which I found very interesting about Maurice Murphy. Maurice came from a brass band tradition as well. And Maurice always had this amazing ability just to breathe in the right places and make it sound completely natural. And Nigel said he'd asked Maurice about that, and Maurice said it's because he was always playing hymns. And it's just in hymns, it's natural where you breathe. And is that something that maybe the Salvation Army bands just do automatically? You learn that from playing that from a very, very early age. I found that very interesting.
I think the fantastic thing we have in the Salvation Army is word association. And a lot of the tunes and hymns, or hymns as you call it, but a lot of the tunes that we play, we don't know word for word, but we know the important parts of the phrase and the important words to look out for, because we've sung those hymns and those words before. So I think Maurice is probably right that the word association can only help. Yeah, because it must help.
We'll have to make up word association for things like Mahler 5. And
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
probably not speak them out loud, but no, I found that very interesting because this natural form of playing and then breathing where it should be instead of getting all. I thought that was really interesting to say. Anyway, I love the video. He made you play. You were playing till you were blue in the face, and Nigel was just.
I haven't played as well. I'd only been in the job 6 months or something, and I hadn't played 2 of the 4 excerpts ever. So we were in between. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but in between we were cutting, and Nigel would say, "It's in E. Play it like that. Play it like
I wish I'd seen that.
Okay, right. Play away, and then record it.
Maybe someone can put a link up to this. It's on YouTube. You can put it in the chat. That'd be great. Call me Carson Yit NYT says, what was the first band you played in?
Well, that would be the Hendon Young People's Band, is what they call. So that's the youth band, the band that I still play.
You're still playing?
Yeah.
What does that mean? You go there every week? You play there?
Yeah, so we do Tuesday nights. The YP band starts at 6:30, I think it is.
YP band?
Yeah, call it the Young People's Band.
Sorry.
Yeah. YP. It's the Hendon YP band, which starts at 6:30, finishes at 7:30, and then the senior band starts at 8 till 10.
Yeah.
So.
There's 2 very, very good friends of mine, Annie Bosler and Henry Hart, watching in Los Angeles, and I just had to say a big hello to them. Annie's an amazing horn player, and it's not that late in New York. I think it's like, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the evening or something. Lovely that you're watching. What brand of trumpet would you recommend for the best sound?
Well, that's easy.
Tell us, Phil. We like nerdy questions.
A B-flat B&S PCL model, which is mine.
A B-flat
B&S.
B&S.
Yeah.
Is that the one the wombat is attacking at the back here?
That's the one, yeah.
How long have you played on that?
Probably about 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
So it's one I personally developed with B&S out near Munich.
Is it called the Phil Cobb model?
Well, it's the PCL model, so close. Yeah.
Okay, close.
I think so.
It's a little bit more sort of modern.
Again, it's low key, is what I like.
Thanks. And am I allowed to ask what mouthpiece?
Oh, hundreds.
Because that'll always hundreds of mouthpieces.
Yeah.
Are you a mouthpiece man?
I am. I'm not really a trumpet man, but I've always messed around with mouthpieces. But Warburtons, Wicks, Bremenmeyers, Barks.
Wow.
You name it.
So how do you decide? Are you as bad as the oboe players who sit around these reeds and think, which one shall I take for
Not
today?
far off.
Yeah?
It's just how it feels. I'll pick one up, and if it doesn't feel right, I'll try something else.
That sounds like
It never works. But I still haven't found the perfect one.
Yeah. Now, Phil, I just want to show you, lighten up the mood a bit. We've been very nerdy. Your section love you very much. Yes, and we have some lovely photos which Tim is going to show us now, but we don't only have photos. Your section have really gone to town. And first of all, we have Dave Elton and Charlie, who are in Sydney right now, and Charlie got all dressed up in something that you gave him. You got that ready to go? Charlie got dressed. You're a big Arsenal supporter, I heard.
Right, yeah.
So Charlie has got all dressed up, and it's going to be ready to go? Running now? So this is what we got now.
Hey Phil, we're really looking forward to your Horn Hangout today. As much as we wanted to get up so early to see you live in London, we're here in Sydney and looking forward to seeing you very soon. All the best.
Real.
Is that good? And then not only Dave came up with a video, but we have something else to show you too.
Oh no.
Your section has been in Santa Barbara.
Oh.
And they sent you this, which you can now watch.
Hey Phil, how's it going? Greetings from the LSO here in sunny Santa Barbara. Hope you're doing well, mate. Listen, hey, in honour of your beloved Tottenham Hotspur, I'm wearing this shirt for you. Come on you Spurs, I think next season's going to be big for you. But we just wanted to say hello, hope you're doing well. We miss you terribly and we know we're going to see you very soon. Hope you're having fun. Okay.
Come on you Spurs!
Disappointed, very disappointed.
Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! You don't approve of that, do you?
I hate Spurs.
You hate Spurs,
Yeah.
right?
All Arsenal fans.
Okay, so why? So they're trying to annoy you with Spurs, but not only. Why?
I said they loved me, by the way.
They do love you. They did the video. Can you imagine how much effort that took to get that video?
Yes, I can.
And also Niall is right now in Australia on just 4G, and he had to climb up to the top of the hill last night and hold his phone up to get a reception to be able to send me this video. So Thank you, Niall, if you're watching. Thank you, Dave, if you're watching. And the next question, why are they all wearing their baseball caps back to front?
I think you know why, to take the pick out of me.
Why? We even have a picture of you with your baseball cap back to front. So why, is this a thing? Is this a Phil Cobb thing? They're great, all of them, all four of them are standing like this in the video.
I thought it was cool, but obviously not.
What do you mean? I've got a brass band cap here. I'm having done my hair for hours, now I've ruined it. But, okay, so it's cool to wear it backwards. All right, you guys, I never want you to wear a cap the right way around again. We're all going to wear it Phil Cobb.
Don't follow my fashion, then.
Tell me about your section now. How does it work? You have 2 principals, an associate principal. Tell us.
We've got 2 principals and a second and a third, but we're currently looking for a second trumpet.
So if anybody's watching, wants to apply, what would they have to do?
Unfortunately, the application's closed, but otherwise it's a great idea.
But turn up to the audition with a cap on the wrong way, I would recommend.
Yeah, so we're currently on the lookout for a second player to join the section. But I've always been very, very lucky that all the sections I work in, the way we work, you kind of have to be like that. But we're best of friends as well, and look out for each other, look after each other. And I think the best sections I've played in have always done that.
Absolutely agreed. We're so lucky in my section too. It's our job is hard enough without having that sort of feuding going on that so many sections seem to have. And if everybody respects, everybody worked hard to get there, you know. And if everybody respects each other, your section's amazing. Just on this tour, you weren't on the tour.
Yeah, that's why it sounds amazing.
They missed you, but they were always together. It was like almost odd. They were always together.
No, but that's not. It's not because we want to ignore anybody else that's part of the orchestra.
Yeah.
It's like being away with your best mates.
Yeah.
And that's great. It's like being on holiday with your best friends. It's just the concert's getting away.
Ford in the camera says, "I love you, Phil." Isn't that nice? Eliana says, "Have you ever doubted that following the path of music was the wrong choice? And if so, how did you overcome it?" Good question.
Deep. I don't think so. No. I have to be honest. When I went to Guildhall, I had no idea I was going to end up doing what I am now.
So it wasn't your plan, get a job, be principal trumpet?
No, I knew that I wanted to go to college in London, and I knew I wanted to try and be by the time I came out, be the very, very best player I could be. But when I first joined Guildhall, that was when I joined the International Staff Band. And that, as a kid, that's all I ever wanted to do, just be in that band. And so for me, it made it. And I did the Maurice Andre competition in my second year at Guildhall. Which opened my eyes to good and bad things.
Which were? The good things?
Well, I suppose it was, in a very small way, I guess it put me on the map a bit because I picked up an award. I was quite young when I did it, and I picked up a bit of an award. But I think it made me realise that I wasn't really cut out for that area of music making. And growing up in the bands, I much prefer being with people and having fun and a bit more of a relaxed, not all the time, but a bit more of a relaxed vibe with it, really. Yeah. That's more my kind of thing, being with people. I do like my own company, but I think...
We like your company too, don't we?
I think
we like your company too.
Doing that all the time wouldn't be for me.
Yeah. There's a great question from Emmanuel, who's watching from Austria at 5:30 in the morning. Thank you for that. Wow. Is there something in your past trumpet development that you would change now if you could go back? It's quite an interesting question. Is there anything any habits you've picked up you'd like to change? Is there anything you do better now that you're happy that you
No, there's nothing I do better now. It's all gone downhill. No, I suppose not really, because I think that the job that you do and the things you're asked to do are normally to your strengths. If you're requested to do something, or if you win a big job, it's normally because of positive things that you do. I think the one thing I would always love to improve on is my low playing, but I think that predominantly is because I don't really play low because of my job. It doesn't really require me to do it.
Don't get me started.
But I guess it's
all the horns know what I would say to that. Yes.
But so I don't have a regret. because I can now play a lot higher than I ever used to be able to.
Someone wants to know which of us have the biggest sound. Alberto Capiello says, which of us have the biggest sound? Well, mate, I'm sure it's you. But I could play loud and low.
I sat there last night.
Yeah, you sat right in my cell. I'm sorry. I'm glad I didn't see you before. If you're watching the stream on Facebook and you have some questions for Phil, then get over to the website and write in your questions there, because I've only got the questions from the website here. But if you're watching on Facebook, write in where you're watching from, and we'll be able to see all that later. We love that there's people from all over the world watching in all different time zones. It's really from LA to Austria to Australia. Sorry, that wasn't Australia. Sorry. Can you do an Australian accent?
No, not after that.
How do you like that decoration? Look, we've got a koala on the horn. We've got a punchy thing back there. Maybe you can take that home if you're very, very lucky. Jasmine wants to know, are there any this is a great question, any high note tips? And before we get your high note tips, I've just got to tell you about Arturo Sandoval when he did his Horn Hangout. Because he said, of course that question always counts with Arturo, because who else can play those high notes? And he was going, yeah, I don't know the word. And I was like, I don't know the word in English. And I was like, clench? Yeah, that's the word. Clench.
Right, okay.
That was his secret. Clench. Yeah. Well, it works, obviously.
It works for him, yeah, exactly.
So how about you? What's your biggest achievement? That's another question. Oh my goodness. Your high note tips, your biggest achievement we can get on to in a minute.
Practice scales and build it up with your range, always focusing on the sound you make. I think if you've always got an ear on the sound you make, I think the chart, and you're getting a nice sound, the chances are you're doing things right. So it all comes at having the right setup, obviously the basics in place. But practice scales, build it up gradually, and move the air quicker the higher you go.
Good.
Those would be my two main.
Good advice. Do you have it? Sarah H wants to know if you have any pre-show rituals. Ones you can mention on the air.
Not really. Not really. No. In London we've got the dressing room 13, which is known as the trumpet room.
I know that room. I've never been in. People say I probably don't want to go in there.
We might have to interview you.
Oh no, we don't want that.
I suppose we all tend to 15, 20 minutes before the show we're all getting changed.
Do you all play in there at the same time?
Not if we can help it. No.
Barbican it hasn't got the best backstage facilities.
Hasn't got the best anything.
No, that's for another hangout.
Orchestra.
Yeah, and conductor.
Okay, that's it.
Right. Okay. What are your Ricardo Milos wants to know what are your favorite top three trumpet audition excerpts? It's hard. It's like, what's your favorite color? We've got a good question coming up.
Don Juan.
Don Juan.
Yeah. Because that's my kind of tune.
Yeah.
The right kind of register.
Yeah.
Provided somebody makes a nice noise, I think that would be one for me.
So that would be a good one in an audition to see how their sound is, if it's something you like.
Yeah.
And what would you do for the strength? Probably Mahler 5 or something? Sorry, I don't mean to take...
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, I'm a tune man though, so I like the tunes, and I think you can tell an awful lot about somebody when they play a tune. So Speedy maybe. There's a few.
Petrushka?
Yeah. The problem is when you do these master classes, you hear the same 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So your Mahler 5s, your Haydns, your Petrushkas.
Tell me about it.
They're great pieces, but could do without it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Petrushkas, it's a fun one to play. I love playing Petrushka.
So the tip is, if anyone turns up to one of your master classes, they should bring a tune.
not always, but yeah.
It makes you happy. Yes.
Yeah.
I've got a great question for you. I just have to, this is really great. Virat Gadut says, do you have any advice on playing with a moustache? I need to keep mine for work, but it often gets in the way of playing. Well, Virat, you have to tell us is it a big moustache? Is it a little, there are moustaches and moustaches.
If he'd seen my legs, he'd realise there's no point asking that question to me.
You're hairless.
Yeah,
okay, sorry, we'll wait for a hairy trumpet player. You'll have to tune back in and ask us that one. Willie wants to know, is there any particular reason why you prefer to play orchestral music on a B flat rather than on a C trumpet?
Yeah, that's a very simple one, which is just that because I grew up playing B-flat cornet in the bands, that's the pitch instrument that I feel most comfortable on. I also feel quite that there are those that make wonderful sounds on C trumpets, but I do think there's something very special and something very unique about a B-flat trumpet sound, and I'm quite, not to the point that it becomes a fight, but I'm quite passionate about keeping the British tradition and having the German tradition and having the American tradition. I think that's a great thing, and I think we should all celebrate what we have, rather than all trying to sound like each other.
I'm glad you say it. I mean, you've come from the most incredible tradition of trumpet playing, so someone's got to protect it. So great. I'm glad to hear
you put it like that. It shouldn't be me.
No, I'm glad to hear you say that. Jenny B says, what are your top tips for recovery after a heavy day of playing? Do you warm down? And if so, what do you do? You just leave it in the box, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll play a few notes. I tend to do very slow C down to bottom F sharp, and I play a semitone, play the note, go down a semitone, and play the same interval again, but then don't use any valves after I played it, so you're bending the note with your lip. So if you do that exercise 2 or 3 times and take it off your face, you can feel the blood. So it's not going to work magic, but I think it does feel like it does something.
Hawken always practices for about half an hour. He warms down after a concerto.
Well,
yeah.
Must be good then.
But he's finished at the interval, you know, and we don't want to practice when the concert's finished, do we?
No.
We want to go to the pub.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Or bed. Yeah, depends on how hard the day's been.
But good question. And Margaret's asked the question that we always get asked in every masterclass and Horn Hangout. How do you deal with nerves before performance? Do they go away as you grow throughout your career?
No, they don't.
I wish I had a better answer to that too, but they really don't.
They really don't, no. And I think, I read a quote, I think it was an Eric Whittaker quote, which I'm sure he got from someone else, but that said something like, that it never goes away. You just get used to dealing with it, because you have to deal with it quite a lot. You sort of get used to dealing with it. But no, I don't find it goes away, and I think it's more to do, for me anyway, it's more to do with the pressure I put on myself. It doesn't matter what situation I'm in, whether it's a 3,000-seater concert hall, which actually I find it easier to get myself up for, or a very small little recital. You know, it's more you want to do well, you want to play well. So no, it doesn't go away. I think you've just got to try and find a way around it.
But you're right. Sometimes in like a sold-out huge stadium, it's easier to play than 25 people.
Yeah, it always has been for me. And I remember the first time I felt like that was at the Albert Hall, playing solos at the Albert Hall, and thinking, I might never do this again. This is an opportunity of a lifetime to say you've played some solos, so go out and enjoy it. So I've always remembered that moment. But there's more intimate moments where I think, how's this going to work? You know?
Like in here, for
example. Yeah. I'm looking forward to tonight. Yeah.
Well, there's so many fantastic questions here, and unfortunately, we're almost out of time. You see, it's not as bad as you thought, a hangout, is it? Or is it bad? All right, you can tell me when the cameras. I'm so grateful for you for doing this. An American, Nathan Owen, says, did you ever meet Bud Herseth?
No, I didn't, unfortunately, no. I know there's a wonderful, at Nigel's house, actually, I still go around to Nigel's house, still very good friends with his wife. And there's a wonderful photograph in his room, which is of Bud Herseth, Rod, Morris, Jerry, and Nigel.
Wow.
And I often look at that photograph and think, I'd love to have been at that dinner table, just to hear some of the stories. And
Bud Herseth was. I sat in front of him in the Chicago Symphony when I was playing it. All you hear him is he was so old at that point that he'd been through all the conductors, and it was some young person at the front. It might have, I can't remember who, but at the back you hear him say, Fert Wengler did it in 4. And you know, you think, oh goodness me, it was incredible. Yeah. He really was a...
They certainly don't make them like him anymore.
Yeah. And Griffith University, which is where we are, said, was trumpet your very first instrument, but at 3.5, what else were you going to play?
No, cornet. Well, cornet, the reason I played the cornet was because my brother's 3.5 years older than me. And he was 7, which is kind of the age to start with, isn't it? Once you've got a couple of teeth.
7 is a good age. I started when I was 14, so I'm obviously way behind.
Oh, right. Yeah. So he started at 7, and of course my dad was still playing at the time. So for me as a 3.5-year-old, it was cornets everywhere, and that's just what I saw. I didn't have a lesson until I was 7. But so I worked out my own fingering. I think my dad made sure it was somewhere in the middle.
Sweet.
And I worked out my own fingering, and that was it. And then I started learning with him when I was 7.
What happened when your teeth fell out then?
No idea.
I can't remember.
It probably sounded terrible as usual.
What model cornet do you use? Question.
At the moment, with me, I have a Vincent Bach, but I'm just putting the finishing touches to a Besson Sovereign cornet, which is due out any moment.
Good.
So I'm looking forward to that, really.
Great.
So keep a lookout for that.
Yeah, keep a lookout for that. I'd buy one if I was a cornet player. I've got another really great question. It's on the level of a moustache question. You ready for it? Braden from row 4 in here, but I'm not going to stare at him, and you'll know why when I read this question. Have you ever had to perform with a pimple on your upper lip? And if so, how do you get rid of it, or how do you deal with it? There's only one answer to that.
You
Press the heck out of it.
Yeah, put it on. I mean, it's one of the sayings my dad used to say to me was, "Learn to play on a fat lip." And of course, he didn't mean by that if you're feeling damaged to keep playing. Keep playing. But I think his point was that there will be days when you go out there and it doesn't feel right. And I'm sure Sarah's the same, that I can count the amount. I'd probably do 110, 115 concerts in a year. I can count the amount of times on one hand that I go out there and feel great and feel like nothing could go wrong, and I've had enough sleep but not too much sleep. I've not flown in from somewhere. I've done enough playing but not too much playing. You know, it just doesn't happen. Most of the time, even whatever level you think you're at, you know, you feel like you're going out there to get away with it, and that is part of it. Whether you've got a pimple on your lip, or whether you've, you know, been headbutted by something, or you know, punched by somebody, or whatever it is, you just got to get on with it.
That's really, my very first teacher told me in his perfect English, said, "No, dear, any fool can play with a good set of chops." And he's right. It's just how he said it as well. I've never forgotten it. Any fool. He came to junior college in a tie and a suit and a good pair of chops.
Right.
So, and he's right, because you really feel duff most of the time, or not prepared, or like an imposter.
Well, never 100%.
No.
I don't think you ever feel. It's very few, even less nowadays. But I go out there and I think, right, I feel really good. Nothing's going to go wrong.
But we've practiced and practiced to be at a level that we can, you know, sort of try and represent what we do as best we can, even if we're not feeling great about it at the time. But we still love what we do, even if we don't feel amazing all the time, right, Phil?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. What is one of the most memorable performances you've ever done? Asked. Oh, it's Ellie Lena again.
Two jump out at me there. One was performing at the opening and closing of the Olympic Games in London.
I was watching.
Yeah, I did the Eternal Source of Light Divine, which was I look back on that and I didn't realise, we were going on tour for 2.5 weeks the following day. And I was stupid. I mean, I was a kid, but I remember thinking, I've got no sleep now. I've got to get from East London back to.
You were playing at the Olympics.
I didn't really know what I was doing, but I look back on that now and think that was special. And the second one is the proms we did a couple of years ago with Bernie. We did Mile 3 with him, and it was just an electric show. And it was one of those rare shows. I think sometimes you do concerts and the orchestra thinks it was brilliant. You talk to some of the audience and they go, it was one of those that everybody I spoke to that watched it, that was at the gig, that was in the orchestra, there was just a special. Bernard was fantastic at 88 or whatever he was to do.
I wonder if is there probably a video of it somewhere? Bernard fighting, Mile 3?
Mile 3, yeah, I think there is. It was just a special show. And everybody came off stage.
That's why we do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's for those memorable performances. That's why we do it.
For sure.
That's why we go through all these pimples and moustaches and all the rest of it. That's really, and I love what I do. You love what you do too.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Yeah. Well, it's a job, you know.
No, it's great. It's great, and it's I've loved every minute of it so far, and I hope I can continue to do it.
Yeah. Too. Well, I hope this isn't the last of our Horn Hangouts. I will get you on again at some point. Maybe we can get the entire trumpet section of the LSO as a revenge. No, with you.
And I'll send in some videos.
Yeah, you can send in some videos with your baseball cap on the. Couple of very last questions, okay? What was it like to play with Corey?
It was great. Corey Band. That was great. It was. I mean, the contesting thing is not really my kind of scene. But it was. I had quite a bit to do in those competitions, and that was quite a good test of of character, and we won both contests that I did with them, so it was the correct time to hang my boots up. But I enjoyed it. The competition I did with them was the Europeans, and that's a great competition. You meet all sorts of people from different styles and different style of banding. So that was a great competition, great thing to do. Yeah, and I've worked with them on solo records and things as well. And I met one of my closest friends on that, David Charles, on that as well. So.
So that was a cool gig.
It was a good gig.
Almost as cool as I must say, at the Olympics, that was very impressive. And I saw you up there, I was like, and I thought you were even better than Mr. Bean. Did you guys see that? Mr. Bean was on with the orchestra. Were you anywhere near him?
Yeah, but that was the opening. Yeah, the orchestra was right in front.
That was very impressive.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet him? No.
Yeah, banded, yeah.
What? This is a good one. Oh, John is watching in the Bahamas. I tell you, there's people on beaches and having coffee in Australia.
Nice.
Very nice, John. Hope you're having a lovely time. Other than a brass instrument, Phil is my homie. Homie.
That's the cat.
Other than brass instrument, what is your favourite instrument?
My favourite, other than brass instrument? Oh.
Do you have favourite music? Do you listen to jazz? Do you?
I listen to everything.
Everything.
Actually. Yeah, apart from that kind of music. But
This kind of music.
hip-hop and rap, I don't really listen to that. But yeah, big bands. I like choral music, vocal. I suppose a voice would probably be.
Yeah.
That'd probably be one of my favourites. I never really thought about that, really.
Oh, good. That'll be on the
Something to
next
think
one.
about,
Yeah. Well, we have masterclasses to do all after. I probably absolutely ridiculous, but I'm going to finish off the Horn Hangout in Phil Cobb style. I'm wearing your cap. You get to wear one of our T-shirts. Yay! This is like big. You've seen them out there. They're selling them, and you're getting one for free.
Really?
So we're getting you in that T-shirt.
That's just what you're saying on air. I'm going to give you a $5.
Yeah, you're going to pay for it after. Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
And we really appreciate you being here. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation to be here at all in Australia. You're going off to Melbourne and Perth and all these places. And
Yeah, to continue to do some of similar things like this and some solo concerts with a few bands and a bit of sound and stuff as well. So a couple of recitals.
but I'll see you in Sydney in a few days.
See you in Sydney.
Hooray!
Yeah,
So
so-
thank you to Music Alexander's who sponsor the Horn Hangouts. They see a little logo you'll see when you see your hangout. To Tim for streaming it, thank you. For Peter and to Sarah for the invitations, and to the Conservatory here for having us, and for you guys for listening. Should I take off my hat now, or do you think it suits me? Should I keep it on? The mask up? All right, I'll keep it on then. People usually do screenshots at this moment where I look absolutely ridiculous.
Why do they take the mick out of me for wearing it, but think you look good in it?
Well, it's the T-shirt, you know.
Oh, is it?
That's why. But the biggest thank goes to you. I know it's out of your comfort zone to do these sort of things, but we really appreciate it so much, and it's been fascinating to talk to you and finding out a bit more about the elusive Phil Cobb, but you're a true superstar for us all, and thank you very, very much. And see you next time on the Horn Hangouts, wherever that's going to be. Phil will see all your questions, so write in your hellos or whatever, and thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time.